So, good morning, all. Today, we will continue with the literature review. We have already discussed that literature review is very important for defining the research problem. So, research problem is backbone of the research, and it guides us towards the goal. Okay. So we'll just move to the literature survey. What is the literature survey? Let us see now. So literature survey, if you define, it is compilation, will define literature survey as it is a compilation, classification, and evaluation of what others have done in our area of the research. Please understand. I already discussed in earlier lectures that many students, research student, make hurry and they want to start the research all of a sudden, and that is not correct. First, very important thing is that we need to search the literature, see what others have done, how they have done, what were their findings, what are the ways they did collection of data, analysis of data, how they interpreted the result. These all the things we need to see. Then we have to start the research by defining the research problem. Please understand. Research is not what is unknown to us. We are not to search what is unknown to us, but we have to search what is unknown to our peers, what is unknown to our area, that we have to search. For that, literature survey is very much important. Okay. So we'll see what is the literature review. So it is compilation. Compilation means what? Collecting the things and putting together. That is called as what? Compilation. So it is compilation, collecting the literature papers, literature. Now as I mentioned, what we consider as authentic document is a research paper. Thereafter, thesis, reports. Okay, so that we also consider. Okay, so research paper, that too we have to search in the reputed journal. There are some journals which are not reputed, and if you search them, you'll get some material, but that will not be authentic. So as I mentioned, what can be the source for the literature is a journal, thesis, research reports, okay, some data, okay. So data is available. You can collect the data from different sources. And then, okay, and then comes classification. So whatever literature we review, whatever we have collected, we have to classify based on the criteria. Like whether it is experimental, whether it is numerical in experimental, which area they have done the work. They have done in the area A, they have done work in the area B, they have done work in the area. See, like this, we have to classify the data. Then comes the evaluation. So literature review also involves very important step, that is evaluation. You have to evaluate what they have done, how they have done. Is there any difference between the two literature reviews for the doing the same method? Which one is more better? Which is foolproof? Okay. What can be possible? What can be possible? We can say errors. That analysis we have to do in the literature review. Like last time I gave one assignment regarding a research problem. So I am finding that many are only writing research problem, but we have to also see whether it is covering, like whether it is covering, it is limiting the scope, whether it is in this cost, whether it is possible to cover in the scope from the time, money, and resources, whether you can do that. That scope we have to discuss. Okay. So what exactly you want to do? Your research problem should not be vague. It should itself define its boundary. Okay. So in literature survey, we have to judge what others have done, how they have done, if they have done, researchers have done in the same area, but they have approach is different, why the approach is different, whether any drawback in previous approach and current approach. So all this thing we have to do in the literature survey. We understand literature survey is little vague, we can say hectic, sometimes maybe boring, but it is very important task. Okay. Without this task, your research problem will not be proper. It may have some drawback. You may complete your PhD, but you will not get what is called as expected from your work, innovation, name. Okay. Good job, like this. I'll move to the next page. So please understand, as I mentioned, your research problem itself is the outcome. The research problem itself is the outcome of literature survey. Please understand. Your research problem itself is the outcome of literature review. And please note that almost all theses include the introduction and literature survey in the thesis. So it is very important and crucial part in the thesis. So when I review any thesis, I also see the literature survey. So it is so important. So what I generally see in the literature survey, what I see in the literature survey is that whether the student has included, whether student has included recent work or not. Okay, that I see in the literature. Whether literature has included previous literatures or not, very old literatures. So both things I see in the literature review of the thesis. If I don't see recent paper, I give the comment that include the recent literature. Same thing, if it is only showing recent papers and not old, then I will also mention that. So it is that much important topic in the thesis. So what is the purpose of literature survey? Is first thing is, in short, we write literature survey. Please understand, it is very short. You write maybe half page or 1/4 page for each paper. Okay, half page, or we can say 1/4 page for each literature. So, in short, we mention in that, we can say 7 to 8 lines. We mention what the author has done, what approach he has used, what is his finding, what is the range of parameter he or she has used. That are right in 7 to 8 pages, 7 to 8 lines. Please understand. So many times students ask me, sir, it is very difficult for us to read the whole paper. So simple way of reading the research paper is to reach the abstract first. Read the abstract first, then read the conclusions. From this, you will get idea what the author has done. Then next step, you read the paper. Okay. Then understand everything you will not understand, but conclusion and abstract will guide you what the person or group of person have done. So you have to write it in the literature review. There is also one more way. Addition to this, we do the table. We create the table for each research paper, what they have done, what is the range of parameters they have used, what is the boundary condition they have used. Okay. That we have to put in the table. If you put in the table, it becomes very quick. We can get quick glance of what the people have done. Okay. What parameter they have varied, which geometry or which condition they have taken into account. Okay. So write maybe 7, 8 lines in the literature review and also make the table. Table will give the quick idea about the various research done by various people, various researchers. Okay. So we write contribution by each work. Then we write in short. We write in the short about their work. Okay. The contribution. One of the, when we see 6 to 8 papers, we have to also apply our interpretation, what they have done. We have to summarize their findings. Like if you write 8 to 10 review 8 to 9 reviews about the paper, and the summarize, we have to summarize and interpret what was their ultimate outcome. Okay. Then comes when we make the table. When we make the table, we can get clear picture what parameter they have studied, what is the range, what range is not covered, what condition is not covered. It is very clear from the table. Please understand. That is very much clear. So from that you can identify the gap. From that you can identify the gap. Please understand. Okay. So as I mentioned, the gap in the previous work can be your research problem. So sometimes what happens, many researchers do the work, their approaches may be different. Sometimes they may contrary or contradictory to each other. Okay. There are two researchers, three researchers, they have done work with the different approaches. Sometimes that approaches are contradictory, contrary. Okay. So we have to resolve, we have to understand why they have done like this. Whether it is correct, whether it is wrong, if it is wrong to what extent, that conflict you have to understand and mention. Okay. You have to mention in the literature. Okay. Like, can you give the example where there can be contradictory? Like whether egg or hen, what is first? Okay, some scientists may say it is egg first. Some scientists may say hen first. Okay, so this is contradictory. So how to resolve this? Okay. Now, one of the important requirement why we do the literature survey is to find out what others have done. Okay. Don't repeat what others have done, except we have some doubt in that. Okay. The trend of the results we have obtained, we think that it should not be like that. In that case, you can repeat. But don't repeat the work which is already done. That is our purpose of doing the literature survey, to find out what is done. To find out what is done and to avoid the repetition. That is one of the tasks in the literature survey. As I mentioned, why we do literature survey? To find out how the people have done this. Okay. How the people have done, what methods they have used. Okay. How they do the analysis, how they collect the data, how they conduct the experiment. That everything that we get from the literature. So we will find what is done already, and it gives direction for us to research how to proceed further, because we are not to commit the same mistakes what they have done already, people have done. Okay, from the literature we can get the path which is containing the less number of hurdles. Okay, we will get the path. Already they might have tried different paths. Okay, they have published the paper where the path is more correct or appropriate. Okay, so it gives us the direction or path for further research. Okay, please understand. Next is it discusses, literature survey discusses what is the research done in the area in context to our research. Okay, so it gives a clear, we can say, view what has happened, how it was done, what was done, what was the conclusions. So everything comes in the literature. It is a backbone and initial point for our research. Okay. So literature review is very important for success of research, to avoid the mistakes. Okay. I will move more further. Now, before going to literature survey, we must be very much clear to narrow down our research. Like, I'm from thermal area. In thermal area, there are many subtopics. Okay. There are many subjects. So I took one subject, heat transfer. In heat transfer, again, there are many modes transfer. Then I selected heat transfer enhancement. Okay. Heat transfer enhancement. I took. And in that area, again, I have selected the which way, like I used way to riff for enhancing the heat transfer. So I've narrowed down. We need to first narrow down our area, then you search the literature. You search the literature. So what literature we can use? Research paper. Okay. We can use the thesis. Please understand. If you go to Google and say thesis heat transfer, thesis uh, heat transfer enhancement, you will get thesis. Please understand. As I mentioned earlier, although research paper is authentic document for research, but thesis is more useful because it is very clearly mentioned. There is a less omission of data. Like in paper, the author may omit few things which are important for us, but not for general public. Okay, that thing we can see in the thesis. Okay. So what you have to do is before literature review, you have to narrow down your area. Okay. So if you narrow down, you can get the literature. If you don't narrow down, what will happen? The literature will be so huge that to handling this literature, it will be very, very difficult. Now, when we do the literature survey, we need to ask ourselves some questions. So that we'll get important data from that. So first question we have to ask, as I suggested, you start reading the paper with the abstract, and conclusion. So major of thing you will get here, conclusions. Then you try to read the paper. Then understand what is the main idea, what is its contribution to the field. Like suppose there is a paper on the heat transfer enhancement by the Reeves. So I will say which type of Reeve it has used. What is the range of Reynolds number? What is the geometrical parameter it has used? So that what is the contribution it has done? So this question you have to ask yourself and find the answer to these questions. You need to find answers to these questions. Okay. Actually, then comes second point. Is paper important for us? So you can say yes. Can't say. Right now, you can't say about can't say. Or you say no. If you say no, then you reject the paper. No need to have for further reference. Okay. Because the paper, it is not related to us, you say no. If you are clear, it is yes, then keep the paper with you. Even you find that right now you cannot conclude, then also we have to keep the paper with you. Okay. So that is the question. This is the next question. Then we have to see whether there are any controversies or contradictions. Are there any controversies and contradictions? Contradiction means totally opposite. Contrary means in a different direction, but not opposite. Okay. So some researcher may say that after putting the ribs in the duct, heat transfer increases. If other is saying it is not increasing, so it is a contradictory. Okay. Some authors are saying with the same geometry, heat transfer increases by 10%. Some says increases by 30%. Then what is that? It is contrary. It is not exact same, but little bit apart. Okay. So we have to also find out what papers thesis is showing contrary or contradictory conclusions, observations that we have to note down. Okay. So you have to take care about these controversies, contradictories, because at the time of thesis, we can say defense, the examiner will ask because examiner will be from that field. And if you put anything contrary, then he may raise the question and we have to defend. Then comes what are the assumptions are made in the paper? What are the assumptions made in given paper? What are common assumptions made by others? We have to see whether there is any difference. We have to see whether there is any difference between the assumptions made by various papers or it is same. Okay. Write down that assumptions. Okay. Write down that assumptions. What assumptions are made? Now, as I mentioned, our aim of literature review is majorly find the research gap. What others have done, to see what others have done, what is the possible gap in the research. Okay, so literature survey also help us to find the research gap. Okay, so we have to find what is the current gap in the research. Okay, so is there an unresolved issue in the research? We can solve it. That we have to see in the literature review. Okay, we need to find the gap. We see what people have done and what they have done. When we put in the tabular format, it is very clear picture for us where is the gap. Okay. Okay. So find the research gap. But also find what are the important connection to other topic. Okay. So what is the important connections of our topic to others topic? How they are related? Whether there is similarity, difference, that we have to point out. And then we have to see whether people give how they do the research in particular area. If I say in our heat transfer enhancement, people mostly do experimental work. There are also possibilities of numerical work, but people trust more experimental, more empirical. So in the literature survey, we have to see which approaches more people are following. So you'll find it is more experimental. There are few numerical also or combination. So where it is empirical as well as theoretical, or only empirical or only theoretical. And then we need to also find why this is happening. What is a possible reason for selecting appropriate way, whether empirical or theoretical. Then literature survey, we have to also find what is the parameters researcher have used. What is the range for each parameter? What parameters are studied? What is the range of parameters? Which method they have used for collecting the data? Which methods they have used for collecting the data? Which instrument? Which device they have used for collecting the data? Which device they have used? How they have collected the data? What was precaution was taken? All these things we have to carefully take into account, because the question will be asked by the expert during the defense or during your progress. Okay, so you need to be very careful about this. Okay, to find what range they have used. Okay, what is the condition they conduct the experiment. Okay, many times what happens, authors are in very hurry to publish the research paper. So sometime maybe accidentally some important information is skipped. Okay, so we can contact the authors. You can find that in the research paper, corresponding author is given. You can send the email to him or her and can clarify your doubts. Okay, don't just go on thinking. It is better way to contact the author and get it clear. Okay, so we have seen that what are the questions to be asked. First, I will just repeat because time is, it will close now. Meeting will close. So I will just repeat what question we have to ask. What is the main idea? What is the contribution of the paper? Whether paper is important for us. If it is important, keep it or discard the paper. Whether there is any contradiction in the work you are studying. What are the assumptions are made by different authors, researchers? What is the current gap you find in the research? The unresolved issue? How it is connected to other research, your work? Whether people are doing it experimentally or numerically, whether it is empirical. You know, empirical means real life data, okay? It is theoretical, why they are using the approach. What parameters are studied, what is the range of parameter, how they are measured, what care to be taken while measuring. Please understand this. Sometimes we have to take care while measuring particular parameter, okay? So that if you have any doubt, it is the right time for us to contact the first author of the papers published, okay? So that you can get idea. You can get the idea from the author. So now we'll take break and we'll meet after 10 minutes. Thank you. Is there any question? Is there any question?